This is the Fly the W670 podcast. It is season 3, episode 41. Cubs just piss poor against Pittsburgh. Oof. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on the socials, Fly the W670 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or email us at flythew670@gmail.com. Well, Crawly, the weather was great around here, but the baseball, not so much.
No, definitely a disappointing 4-game series. And like you said, I mean, they were talking, I always listen to the Pat Hughes and Pat and Ron in the attendance game with Zach and Paul, the engineer, and
Paul Zerang.
And yeah, absolutely. Just, 39, close to 40,000 fans out there. And they didn't really get a very good performance any of the days.
No. Lucky they didn't get swept, to be honest with you, Crawly.
Yeah, the Cubs, I was there in game 1 and when they lost 5-4. And for me, that was the first game I've been to where I didn't have to wear a coat and long underwear and stuff like that. So it was nice to kind of go to that game. And, I went with my daughter and it was fun. We got to take my daughter on the field after the game. Javier Assad took a picture with her. I talked to him for a few minutes. Good times. But as far as the game was concerned, there were some good, some bad, some ugly. When we looked at that game, it was good as far as Ian Happ got the Cubs on the board with a solo home run in the second. He hit a laser that hit off the right field foul pole with an exit velocity of 110 miles per hour. And, Dustin, I thought that, okay, here we go. This is, you gave Ian Happ the 2-day breather, right? You sat him. Now he came back and he hit the home run, and maybe this is what's going to get him jump started.
Right. It looked like that was that was what the fly in the ointment, they got him going. I thought it looked like it was going to pay off nicely.
And it really didn't kind of pan out like we hoped for the rest of the weekend. I thought the offense did a good job against a really tough pitcher in Jared Jones. Jones went 6 innings. He gave up 3 runs on 7 hits with no walks and 7 Ks. The offense kept fighting back. They were down 2-0 when Ian Happ hit that solo home run. They were down 3-1 in the 4th. Michael Busch hit a 2-out double and scored on a Nick Magical single to make it 3-2. Down 4-2 in the 5th. Tauchman singled and Cody Bellinger stayed hot with an RBI double to make it 4-3. Unfortunately, the Cubs offense could never get ahead of the Pirates. They had one last chance against reliever Colin Holderman in the 8th. He hit the first battery face, Seiya Suzuki, and he got Cody Bellinger to hit a little grounder, but Yasmani Grandal was trying to throw around Bellinger, and Belly's hustling to first. And so the ball gets by the first baseman. You got second and third, no outs. Bellinger represents the tying run at second. Morel hits a sac fly to make it a 1-run game with Bellinger still at second, but then Happ struck out, Busch walked, and then Nick Magical grounded out to end the threat, and the Cubs couldn't score again. I also thought that the bullpen did good. They only used 2 relievers after Justin Steele. Hayden Wesniewski pitched 1 1/3 scoreless innings, and Tyson Millard pitched 2 scoreless innings to at least keep it close. And a little shout out to Willie Harris. I thought he made some aggressive sends in that game. And
always makes aggressive sends. Always.
I would hate for the Cubs to lose him as a third base coach, but I think he really deserves a managing job, in my opinion. I think he'll get it sooner rather than later. The bad of the game was, Justin Steele's line. He went 5.2 innings, gave up 4 runs, 6 hits with 1 walk and 7 Ks. The thing, Dustin, when I talked about the offense, it just seemed like every time they would get a run, Justin would give a run back. Right. You never got the shutdown inning.
Nope.
To be fair, though, it didn't help that his defense was awful behind him and the wind was blowing out to left center. But one start after the Pirates hit 3 home runs off him, he gave up another 2 home runs to the Buccos, a 2-run blast in the first from Edward Olivares, and a solo shot to Nick Gonzalez, who somehow has turned into Ty Cobb against the Cubs.
Right, and these aren't even their top hitters that are doing this. I mean,
right. There was a jet stream blowing to left center by the scoreboard. The Pirates were able to get a couple balls into it. Jared Jones, though, is a really tough hitter, and the Cubs didn't. But the Cubs have a lot more players with home run balls, though. That was the 6th game in a row, Dustin, where the Pirates hit a home run. And that jet stream was really, really, like I said, it was tricky. And Justin was asked about it in the post game because there was balls, Dustin, trying to remember who hit. I think Connor Joe hit one, and I saw Cody Bellinger set up, and then he kept drifting back 6, 7, 8 feet and finally caught the ball, but the wind was just pushing that thing. So here's what Steele had to say about pitching at Wrigley that night.
I mean, that's kind of the love-hate relationship with Wrigley. Like, sometimes the wind's just howling out, and you can get in one of them jet streams and you can get out. I don't know exactly how hard he hit it, but I mean, it was a well-executed four seam up and in, cutting in on his hands, and he just got the right part of the bat on it, and it got out of here. But like you said, it's just kind of part of the Wrigley Field. You know, it's just kind of part of the environment here. But yeah, for me, like I said, I felt really good executing my pitches tonight. Felt good with everything.
So the love-hate with Wrigley, you know, sometimes the wind's blowing.
Yeah, I hate those baskets, Crawly. I hate those baskets.
Yeah, and the ugly thing about this game, Dustin, and it just really has been hurting the Cubs, is the defense. We talked about how Morel and Michael Busch have their own issues, but to now not have both your Gold Glove, your shortstop and your second baseman, I mean, that's just killing them. It started in the first, 1 on, 1 out. O'Neill Cruz is at the plate. He smokes one to Nick Madrigal. I don't know if he thought Madrigal was, I don't know if he thought that O'Neill Cruz was Yasmani Grandal or something, but he was really slow starting the double play, and O'Neill Cruz beats it out. The inning should have been over at that point. The next batter, Olivares, homered to put the Pirates up 2-1. In the fifth, Michael Taylor doubled the lead off the inning, moved to third on Alkia Williams' bunt, but still got Connor Joe to pop out in foul territory for a big second out, right? Okay, you got Connor Joe. But then Brian Reynolds hit one that hit off the glove of Morel. Now, I don't know if he gets an out there or not, but if you at least keep it on the infield and pocket it, maybe the run doesn't score. Then, Dustin, the worst one in the sixth, Edward Olivares leads off with a double. Nick Gonzalez flied out to move Olivares to third. With 1 out, Yasmani Grandal hits one. Seiya Suzuki comes charging in, and then he just misplays the ball. It bonks off his glove. Olivares scores. Now, if Seiya catches that cleanly, the runner probably would have had to hold up. Instead, it goes as an E9, another run would score. So, Dustin, by my count, that's at least 4 preventable runs that scored this game.
Yeah, just the defense. But again, I mean, it's not good enough. There's no doubt about that. But we also have to remember, like you had stated out, that 2 of the Gold Glove caliber guys aren't in this lineup. So how much different would it be if those guys were in there? I think quite a bit different.
And here's what Craig Counsell had to say about the defense.
Well, I think, in general, we didn't play good enough defense tonight. We got our glove on a lot of balls that they scored runs on, or, maybe should have completed. Probably double play in the first is a play we could have completed, obviously the Seiya ball. And so that led to, possibly 3 runs there. So, I mean, it was probably better than the line. They hit, I thought that the pitch that Olivares hit was a decent pitch, just did a nice job with it.
I think for Craig Counsell, you need everybody playing defense. I know it's going to be better if you have Swanson and, you're talking about Nico, but you still, if you're the one who's in there, if your name's in the lineup card, you got to make some of these. I'm not saying, you got to make every play that those guys do. I just don't think that double play with O'Neill Cruz, I think you got to make that play. I don't care if you're the backup infielder or the starting infielder, you got to make that play.
Yep, you got to make the play. There's no doubt. It's a makeable play. If you're at the big league level and you're in the lineup, you got to make that play. I don't disagree with you.
Now, Dustin, after losing that game, this is the one we kind of laughed about earlier, Kyle Hendricks versus Paul Skeens, where you have one of the hardest throwing pitchers in the game taking on one of the softest throwing pitchers in the game.
Right.
We weren't laughing long. Bottom of the second, Rowdy Tellez waddled up to the plate and singled. And then the number 9 hitter, Jared Triolo, hit his second home run of the season. Cubs down 2-0 early. Got worse in the third with 1 out. Nick Gonzalez doubled. Jack Swinski was called out on strikes. Yasmani Grandal singled to score Gonzalez. The Cubs are down 3-0. Rowdy Tellez singled to put runners at first and second, and Jared Triolo singled. Add in a throwing error by PCA. 2 more runs scored to make it 5-0. Pirates scored 3 more in the fifth before Craig Counsell finally put Kyle out of his misery. Kyle went 4.2 innings pitched, gave up 8 runs, 7 earned on 11 hits, no walks, and 4 Ks. Dustin, the Pirates are one of the worst team against right-handed pitchers, and they absolutely smoked him. And Dustin, I think, for the listeners of the podcast, I'm a pretty even level-headed. When you and I talked about some of Kyle Hendricks' poor starts, I said, look, talk to me at the end of May. Let's see what's going on. It's getting to be at the end of May, and you can't just have these uncompetitive starts every single time out.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's looking like the end is near, and uncompetitive starts is a great way to put it.
Yeah, and so as we kind of take a look here, this was just unbelievable. Paul Skeen continues to be as good as advertised. He struck out the first 7 batters he faced. Dustin, I'm panicking, thinking that the Kerry Woods 20 strikeout record might be broken on the federal landmark. I'm like, can't happen. Struck out the first 7 batters. In the 4th, he struck out 2 more, and 1 in the 5th and the 6th. That would be it for Skeen's 6 shutout, no-hit innings, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts. This was the second time a pitcher 21 or younger has had a 10-plus K outing with no more than 1 hits allowed at Wrigley Field. The other, as we said, Kerry Woods' 20K game.
Yeah, he was looking – it was pretty amazing. And, yeah, I mean, he's good. He's special. I mean, let's see what he does against another team, right? He's only faced the Cubs, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And while the Cubs got their first hit of the day when Christopher Morel hit a flare single in the 7th, they made a little noise in the 8th. Miguel Amaya hit a solo home run with 2 outs, and then Mike Tauchman singled. Didn't happen. Cody Bellinger walked. Could the Pirates walk another 6 runs in like last week? No. Christopher Morel did double. He made it 9-3, but that's all the runs the Cubs would get as they lost the second game of the series. So now the Cubs are down 2-0. You're starting to get a little bit nervous now going into game 3. But I think, Dustin, that we felt confident on this one, right?
That was the one you felt most confident in, yes.
And when we looked at it, to me, it was one that I really wanted to pay attention to because before the season started, when the Cubs signed Shota Imanaga, the book on him was that he was prone to giving up the long ball, right? And so it was a warm, sunny day. The wind was blowing out for Wrigley. Was he still going to be Shota, the amazing pitcher we've come to see, or was the Wrigley wind going to get to him? I also wondered if the Cubs could get some runs off Bailey Falter as they struggled against him the last time out. So beautiful day, wind blowing out. You figured it'd be a high run scoring affair, right?
Wrong. Yeah.
Wrong. Yeah.
Wrong.
Shota continued to dominate. He went 7 scoreless innings, gave up 1 walk and 4 hits with 7 Ks. The only time the Pirates had 2 base runners was in the 7th inning when Shota gave up back-to-back 2-out singles, struck out Michael Taylor to end the threat. So, Dustin, it's my favorite time to look at amazing Shota Imanaga tweets. Right here, Shota Imanaga is now the MLB ERA leader, and as Pat Hughes says, when your ERA starts with 0 point, you're doing pretty good. So 0.96, he's ahead of Reynaldo Lopez, Ranger Suarez. His teammate Javier Asad's on there, 1.49, and then Seth Lugo, 1.66, but absolutely amazing. Chris Kompka put on here 202 times this season, a pitcher has allowed 5 or more earned runs in a start. Shota Imanaga has allowed 5 earned runs total in his first 9 careers in MLB starts.
Yeah.
Last one on this one here. How about this? Lowest ERA through the first 9 MLB starts. Dustin, I'm old. I'm not old enough to remember Melly Red Wolfgang in 1914 on the South Side.
I don't know that name. Never even heard that one before.
David Ferris in 1945, but I remember Fernando Venezuela and Fernando Mania in 1981, right? 0.91, but Shota through 9 games is the best. 2024, he's out at 0.084. So absolutely phenomenal. Unfortunately, Shota, as good as he doesn't get the W, as Bailey Falter had the Cubs hitters baffled, which doesn't seem too difficult lately. He went 7 2/3 of innings pitched. He gave up no runs, 3 hits, 2 walks, and 2 Ks. And just like Shota, Falter never had 2 base runners on until the 8th inning when he gave up a 1-out walk to Happ and a single to Magical. The Cubs loaded the bases when relief pitcher Colton Halderman walked Michael Busch, but Patrick Wisdom struck out to end the threat. So we're going into the 9th inning scoreless. How about the top of the 9th, Dustin? No heart attack, Hector. Nice calm, right? He gets a pop-up and he struck out 2 batters. Takes us to the bottom of the 9th. Pirates closer David Bednar is on the mound. He gets Seiya to fly out, but Cody Bellinger hits a ground rule double that hopped into the left field stands. Christopher Morel hit a ground ball to short center. Michael A. Taylor comes charging in. Willie Harris gives Belly the send sign, the go sign. The throw comes in plenty of time, but it's a little bit off target. It's in the left-handed batter's box. So Joey Bart's got to reach all the way over and then come back to kind of the right-handed batting box. And, you know, when Bellinger's sliding his hands up, the ball pops out of Joey Bart's hands. So the music starts. The flags come out. Clark Cub is running around on the field, but Pirate manager David Shelton says, "Oh no, wait a second here. He wants a replay on that," and he felt that Bart was presenting the ball to the umpire, right? So that he felt that the tag was made. He was showing the ump the ball, and then through that process, the ball was hit out of his hand. New York disagrees. Call is upheld. Music is played a second time. Flags and Clark come back out. Just a lot of, it was, I don't want to say it was a fun game. It was a nerve-wracking game. After
losing the first two, you've got to win that Shota game. You just have to.
Right. And how about this for Christopher Morel here? Marquis had this there. These three players have recorded a walk-off in each of their first three seasons with the Cubs since 1974. Andre Dawson, Alfonso Soriano, Christopher Morel. So some pretty good company for Morel to be in.
Yeah, you could say that again.
So that takes us now the Cubs are down 2-1, and as much as I hate 4-game series, at least you got a chance for a split. Jameson Taillon versus Mitch Keller. Another game, another quality starts by a Pirates pitcher. 4 quality starts by the Pirates this weekend. Another poor offensive showing by the Cubs. After getting shelled by Atlanta in his previous start, Jameson Taillon, I thought he was okay. It was fine.
It was fine. Yeah.
Didn't help that the infield was a little bit brutal, but the defense. But how about this one, Dustin? This tells you how bad the Cubs infield defense is. When have you ever seen this before? The Pirates had 4 infield singles.
No, not very often, no.
Very first batter of the game, Andrew McCutchen hits an infield single to Miles Masterboni, who's playing short. In the second, Jack Sawinski's not leaving Wrigley Field without hitting a home run.
No, it was you got to have one.
Yep, death, taxes, and Sawinski hitting a home run at Wrigley, right? That gave the Pirates a 1-0 lead. Andrew McCutchen in the third gets his second infield single, this time to Morel at third. Morel would allow another infield single in the fourth to Nick Gonzalez. And in the fifth inning with 1 out, Taillon walked Andrew McCutchen, who already had 2 infield singles. So now Brian Reynolds hits one that went off the glove of Bush. Madrigal tried to shovel it back. Initially, he was called out, but that was overturned. A wild pitch by J-Mo put the runners at second and third with 1 out. He struck out O'Neal Cruz for a big strikeout and kind of surprised me a little bit, but Counsell pulls Taillon for Hayden Wisniewski. Now, Hayden's been pitching really well, so I kind of get it. But he walks Connor Joe, and then he gave up a 2-run single to Nick Gonzalez to put the Pirates up 3-1. As far as the offense is concerned, it was just bad. The Cubs had a grand total of 2 hits in the game, Dustin. 2 hits.
You don't win many games when you have 2 hits, unless maybe they're both home runs.
The first was an RBI triple by Mike Tauchman. He scored on a Seiya Suzuki sac fly in the 3rd inning. In the 6th inning, Seiya got hit by a pitch. Cody Bellinger doubled to lead off the inning. You got runners at second and third. Christopher Morel hits a sac fly to make it 3-2. You still got a runner at second base, 1 out. Ian Happ and Michael Bush flew out to end the threat. The Cubs only had 2 hits the entire game. Dustin, they didn't have a single.
It's crazy. That's crazy. I mean,
you don't hit a single the entire game. So, it's funny. I was talking to my brother. He's out in Colorado now about it. And, he tells me, well, you gotta win the series against the Pirates. But these aren't the Pirates of the last few years. You can see that they've got some talent in that system.
Oh, yeah, they're getting better. There's no doubt about that. But the Cubs do need to beat the Pirates at home, especially.
We don't know what Paul Skeens is just yet. But again, we talked about how Jim Callis said he was the best college pitcher he's ever seen. I mean, the hype's up there. But here's the thing, is that as bad, it was really down to the offense. I thought that the offense and defense were awful. I thought the pitching, both the starters and the relievers, I thought were pretty good for the Cubs. That's what bothered me. If you take a look at the Cubs offense, and Marquis put this up after the game, they scored 10 runs in a 4-game series. Their batting average was 151. They had 8 extra base hits, and they were 3 for 16 with runners in scoring position. Just not good enough. And like you said, they do have to beat the Pirates. I know they're not the pushovers that they used to be. You still got to find a way to get it done.
Find a way to get it done is right, Crawly. You are listening to episode 41 of season 3. Cubs piss poor against the Pirates. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Leave one of those 5-star reviews. You can also email us at flythew670@gmail.com. And don't forget, you can watch us, that's right, on 670 The Score by subscribing to The Score's YouTube page. In this segment, Crawly's talking to Rich Eberwein from Cubbies Crib to talk about his article about Kyle Hendricks and the similarities of his struggles with another 2016 Cubs starting pitcher. Check it out.
Joining me now on the Fly the W podcast, I'm happy to have on our friend Rich Eberwein. He writes for Cubbies Crib. How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing well today, Crawly. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, besides the Cubs stinking it up, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, we weren't able to get the series split against the Pirates. I can't believe I'm saying that. That was like the best case scenario. They should have won that series. But
well, one of the reasons, though, Rich, that they didn't win the series is Kyle Hendricks, and this is I'm not a meatball by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not cut this guy, DFA this guy, send him to the minors, that kind of thing, but there is a point in time, and what I said was by the end of May, if I'm not seeing improvement from Kyle, then let's start having the conversation. Well, we're sitting here on Sunday, May 19th, and we're coming off another bad Kyle Hendricks start. And, when you listen to him post-game, he was saying, oh, things are looking good. And I'm like, well, what game are you watching, buddy? Yeah. Execution, all that stuff. And you wrote an interesting article at cubbiescrib.com that kind of, I didn't even, put two and two together, but you talked about how Kyle Hendricks' downfall is eerily similar to another Chicago Cubs World Series hero. What made you kind of think about this article here?
Yeah, so after that last start against the Pirates, I think me, along with a lot of other people in the Cubs fandom, are kind of seeing this writing on the wall with Kyle Hendricks. Like, I think this is a guy who doesn't have it anymore. And I have to give a shout out to my editor, Jordan Campbell, over at Cubbies Crib. Because when I wanted to write this article, he gave me the idea to compare it with Jake Arrieta's downfall. And once I started doing the research into that angle, there was a lot of similarities. They're about the same age. Kyle Hendricks is 34. Jake Arrieta was 35 in 2021, which was his final season. And they both just look like shells of them former selves. Sorry, my cat is in the way. Oh.
Love cats on the Fly, the W podcast. But, you do bring up a good point in the fact that, both of them were World Series hero. When you think about Jake Arrieta and that run that he went on from, you could almost say the end of 14 all the way through 2017, but specifically 2016, when you think about the Game 2 and Game 6 of the World Series, and then you think about Kyle Hendricks was phenomenal in both of his starts in Game 3 and Game 7. So it's not as simple as, say, cutting Richard Lovelady. You know what I mean? These are guys that have such meaning to the fan base. But at the same time, you brought up some interesting points in your article about how, 2021 Jake Arrieta and the situation he was in with the Cubs was a lot different than 2024 Kyle Hendricks with the Cubs. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, at the time, the Cubs were not in a position to compete in 2021. They kind of went into that season, in that offseason, they had essentially dumped Yu Darvish's salary, their best starting pitcher, arguably at the time. And we all know what happened at the 2021 trade deadline. The team wasn't in a good enough position. Their expiring contracting, or the players with expiring contracts weren't performing well enough, so they traded them and put themselves in a position for a rebuild or retool, whatever. This year is completely different. They are coming off an offseason where they made significant moves to win now and in the future. They went out and traded one of their best pitching prospects for an everyday first baseman in Michael Busch. They stole Craig Counsell away from the Milwaukee Brewers, a division rival. They
Shodi Managa, you're talking about a potential Cy Young and Rookie of the Year.
An elite starting pitcher they signed. These are moves that you make when you're trying to win ball games. And right now, Kyle Hendricks isn't really helping them do that. He's putting them in a position to lose more so than in a position to win. And so it kind of begs the question, how long are they going to let this go? How long are they going to try and let him figure out things on the fly? In 2021, they could afford to let Jake Arrieta do that into August because they weren't trying to win ball games by that point. They weren't trying to make the playoffs. It wasn't a realistic expectation. Making the playoffs is a realistic expectation right now, and they need to address this Kyle Hendricks problem.
Yeah, and when you take a look at Jake Arrieta in 2021, he played for two teams. He played for the Cubs, and then they traded him to the Padres. But for the Cubs, like you said, he had 20 starts, 5-11 with a 6.88 ERA. And so, when you think about Jake Arrieta and his dominance, it clearly at that point in time wasn't really there anymore. And that's something that you take a look at. And when you take a look at Kyle Hendricks, you were talking about in your article, just not only are the starts not good. I mean, they're not even competitive.
Yeah. Yeah. So like that last game that Jake Arrieta had that led to him being put on release waivers, he gave up like 8 earned runs to the Milwaukee Brewers. And I said in that article, like Kyle Hendricks has already had several starts this year comparable to that one. And he's only made 7 starts this year. So it's very alarming. Obviously his ERA is 10.5 right now, really bad. He's already given up 10 home runs, which in 130 innings last year, he gave up 13. So he's almost matched that already in his first 7 starts. It's not good. And it doesn't seem like things are getting any better. And the thing with Jake Arrieta was like he was losing his velocity. He was injured. Kyle Hendricks doesn't seem to be injured. Kyle Hendricks is a finesse pitcher who relies on control and command. And when he doesn't have that, he's getting shelled, and not just against bad teams either. He had a bad start against the Miami Marlins, who have already thrown in the towel. They traded one of the best hitters. He didn't even make it into the 5th inning against them, and he gave up 4 earned runs. And against the Pirates, he gave up 7 earned runs in 4.2 innings. Going into that game, the Pirates were among the worst in the league against right-handed pitching, and they bopped him around. They shelled him. It's not good. It's not trending in the right direction at all.
And when you talk about it, that start on Friday, that was the 3rd game where Hendricks has given up 7 earned runs, and the 6th where he's given up at least 4. And so, I mean, like I said, you can't keep rolling that out there. And now he's scheduled to make his next start against Atlanta, where traditionally he absolutely gets crushed. And so if you're taking a look and seeing what the Pirates did against him, imagine a team like Atlanta when Kyle Hendricks was at his best, at peak Kyle Hendricks, ERA leader, all that stuff. He still struggled with Atlanta.
Right. Yeah, things are not going to get easier. So you have, if Cubs keep the rotation how it is right now, he's scheduled to start against Atlanta, the Brewers, the Reds twice, and the Cardinals. So if the plan right now is to wait until Jordan Wicks is ready to come back, which I would assume would be sometime in June, there's a lot of significant competition that Kyle Hendricks is going to face in that time. And right now it doesn't look like the team could be in a position to win those games. So you're leaving wins on the table right now, essentially, with Kyle Hendricks pitching in those games.
Now, I think to me, Craig Counsell kind of alluded to this in his post-game conference, press conference after the game on Friday. He kind of talked about innings, needing to eat innings, which I completely understand, but there's got to be someone that can eat innings better than this. Like I said, when I talk about inning eaters, okay, maybe you give up 4 or 5 runs tops, but this is, like I said, 6, 7 runs every single start. And that, there has to be someone within the system. I know they've started kind of making some moves. They've been trading people, they just got the guy from Tampa Bay, lefty, bullpen help, but there's got to be someone out there that can really eat innings, but still keep you within, striking distance of a game.
Yeah. And I think there's better internal options right now. And Ben Brown and Hayden Wesneski have proven to be capable of starting ball games for the Cubs this year. Not to mention Cade Horton is in Iowa. You could give him a shot. Those options are just better to me in my mind right now than Kyle Hendricks. And it's unfortunate to say because, like we said, it's to a guy that is so revered and beloved by this fan base who has done heroic things. He's arguably one of the most important starting pitchers in franchise history. As far as I'm concerned, Kyle Hendricks basically won us a National League pennant. So it's tough that it's happening to this guy, but like we said, something needs to be done. And I think one of the most concerning things is that, to your point, he's not eating innings right, and that's taxing the bullpen that's already going through severe struggles right now. They don't have a dedicated closer because Edward Alzolay is somehow lost it. He doesn't look like the same guy that he did last year. So his starts are putting so much more unnecessary tax on the bullpen that is already struggling. In his starts, in the games that Kyle Hendricks has started this year, the bullpen has pitched more innings than Kyle Hendricks has. And 34.1 innings is how many innings that the bullpen has taken over for him. So they need to address something.
And I think, to me, Kyle to me seems to always have had a level head, and he's a great guy, level-headed. I have a million great Kyle Hendricks stories. This is where it gets difficult. And obviously the Cubs don't have a problem with difficult conversations. Obviously Jed was around with Jake Arrieta and with David Ross this last offseason. And like you said, I'm trying to see, because the thing that concerns me too is the control issues with Kyle Hendricks. When you see the walks, and I'm looking at this and I'm saying, like, okay, some guys can walk guys, but then they can, blow you by some gas and get out of it and wiggle their way out of having a couple guys on base. If Kyle Hendricks doesn't have control, that's a big problem. If whatever he's throwing at 88, 89 miles per hour is leaking over the middle of the plate. Yeah,
it's not sustainable. And, to your point, I don't want this to happen, but I think it just isn't. It's something that needs to happen. It needs to be addressed. When I think of Jake Arrieta right now, I don't think of 2021 Jake Arrieta. I don't think of that awful start against Milwaukee. I think about how he went on one of the most dominant stretches of any starting pitcher ever. I think about him shoving against the Pirates in the wild card game. I think about his no-hitters. In a few years from now, when Kyle Hendricks is retired, we're not going to be thinking about the fact that they cut him in 2024. We're going to be thinking about the fact that he won us a World Series, that he clinched a National League pennant, that he won an ERA title. We're going to remember all those good things. So I think it's sort of just like getting over this hump. It's a difficult decision. It's one that needs to happen. And like you said, they've made similar decisions very recently. I think David Ross thing is right up there. Nobody was expecting it. Nobody thought Jed Hoyer would do something like that, but he did. And it just shows his dedication to wanting to put a winning product on the field, I think.
So here's a question for you. Let's say it does get to June, Jordan Wicks is back, guys are starting to get healthy, and you do got to make a decision, because people keep saying, well, maybe he can be like a long reliever, but I don't see that being an option either.
I don't either, because I don't think his stuff would play well out of the bullpen. He's already not fooling people as a starting pitcher right now. I don't see how it would be any better. Scouting reports on Kyle Hendricks are probably pretty easy. He's coming out of the bullpen. I don't think he's going to be fooling many people. So I don't think it's a sustainable option.
And so let's kind of play this out here. Let's say hypothetically Kyle Hendricks, goes into Jed Hoyer's office and says, Jed, never easy, or, Kyle, this isn't easy to do. Thank you for your service. And he does it. They did it, like I said, even with Jason Hayward. The question then is, do you think that Kyle Hendricks gets picked up by another team?
I do. And I think part of the reason for that is so many starting pitchers are going down right now with arm issues. And there's certainly a team that would pick him up and put him in their rotation. There's so many teams in need. The injuries are insane this year. So I think for sure.
That would be strange to see Kyle Hendricks in a uniform other than a Cubs uniform. Rich, I really appreciate you jumping on. Tell us a little bit where our readers can find your work.
Yeah, if you go on cubbiescrib.com, I try to write as much as I can on there. So that's probably the best place to find all my work. And then you can follow me on Twitter too. I usually repost all my Cubbies Cribs articles on there. So that's @Rich_Ebbs on Twitter.
@Rich_Ebbs. All right. So let's just kind of pray to the baseball gods that somehow Kyle Hendricks turns it around, and that we can laugh at this discussion years from now. But Rich, I'm biting my fingers thinking about that Atlanta start. I'm just going like, okay, can we maybe just even push him? Maybe just not against Atlanta, but let's keep our fingers crossed, Rich, that this ends up in a positive outcome.
please turn it around, Kyle Hendricks, so we don't have to watch you get cut by the team. Please.
This is the Fly the W670 podcast. It is season 3. It's episode 41. The Cubs just piss poor against the Pirates. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. You can also email us, flythew670@gmail.com. And don't forget, you can watch us. That's right, on the 670 The Score YouTube page. So, Crawly, after only taking 1 of 4 from the Pirates, how do the Cubs stack up in their division?
Well, they luckily, sometimes, Dustin, it's when you face an opponent. The Cubs faced Houston when they were looking really, really bad. Houston's looking a lot better, so they did us some favors up against Milwaukee. The Cubs are at the exact same spot they were when they walked into this series 2 games back from Milwaukee. So Milwaukee's at 27-19, and the Cubs are at 26-22. Pittsburgh, 22-26, still 4 games under 500, but they're 6 games back. St. Louis is out of the basement at 20-26. Cincinnati, now the cellar dwellers, at 19-27.
Yeah, we thought that they would be the team to beat in the division, but obviously there's a long time still.
Long time, but speaking of long time, when was the last time we got to have an injury report that didn't have a new Cubs player on it, right?
Yeah, I think the last one, who was the last guy put on it? Who was the 15th Cub pitcher?
Oh, boy, the 16th one is Colton Brewer.
Yeah, but gosh, who was it? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
He had the viral infection. It was Keegan Thompson, right?
Keegan Thompson, that's who it was, yeah.
So before the game on Friday, relief pitcher Colton Brewer was put on the 15-day IL with lower back tightness. And right-handed pitcher and friend of the pod, Porter Hodge, who's been on the podcast before, was called up. So congratulations to Porter. Brewer was the 16th player to go on the IL. How about this one? Jordan Wicks threw 4 pitches in a BP workout on Friday at Wrigley Field. Counselor says that he has 1 more BP session before going to a minor league rehab assignment. Also throwing 40 pitches on Friday, Drew Smyly, and we found out he's going to be making his first rehab start in South Bend on Tuesday. Daniel Palencia made his first minor league rehab start on Saturday for the Iowa Cubs. He allowed 3 runs on 3 hits, 2 homers, and 3 strikeouts. But again, you're just getting out there, getting warmed up. On Saturday, the Cubs made a trade with the Tampa Bay Rays. They traded Dick Lovelady, who was DFA'd on Tuesday, for left-handed pitching minor league lefty Jeff Belgie. And then, Dustin, I think we have good news, but now I'm not sure. It was reported that Nico Hoerner and Dansby Swanson are on target to return on Tuesday when the Cubs open their series against the Braves at Wrigley. Dansby has been on the IL since May 10th. Nico's missed the last 6 games. We've talked about that infield defense, but here's what has me nervous right now.
I was just going to say, what are you worried about?
Well, some good. Luis Vasquez just got called up. And so, with Luis Vasquez, he was a guy, if you looked at the minor leagues, he's a guy that was really always a glove first guy. But last year, the bat kind of started to match the glove, and the Cubs were saying to themselves, okay, maybe we got something here. But now I'm starting to worry is why are they calling him up now? Is it to replace Miles Mastrobuoni, or could it be possibly that Nico Hoerner might have to go on the DL?
Well, yeah, but I mean, Mastrobuoni overall played a pretty nice shortstop until that terrible throw he had today.
Right. So I guess my question though is if Luis is coming up and he can play a lot of, he's a righty, he can play a lot of different infield positions, but are you calling him up because of an injury, or are you calling him up to replace somebody? It's going to be one of the two.
Right. That's a good point. Well, I guess we're going to have to wait and see. Probably won't really know anything until what, Tuesday, really, officially, right?
So now I got to worry for the next couple of days. Thanks a lot, Craig Counsell.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens with that. And we got this big series coming up against the Braves here. Just like the Pirates who are leaving town, the Cubs played the Braves a week ago. Good thing is that this is the last time the Cubs will see Atlanta in the regular season. In game 1 last Monday, Shodi Imanaga was able to go 5 scoreless innings, but there was a lot of traffic on the base pass. Hayden Wesniewski pitched 3 innings of relief and gave up 2 runs, but the Cubs did nothing against Reynaldo Lopez in the Braves pen, getting shut out 2-0. Of note on that game, Craig Counsell was ejected for the first time in his Cubs career, arguing on a check swing. Game 2 was when the Braves scored 6 runs in the fourth off Jamison Tyone after not pitching in his previous start because of lingering back issues. And Chris Sales pitched 7 scoreless innings as the Cubs were shut out a second game in a row, 7-0. But remember, Javier Assad prevented the sweep. He pitched 6 shutout innings. Tauchman and Suzuki homered, and Nick Madrigal and PCA were 5 for 8. And the Cubs won that one 7-1. Now, Dustin, we have some good news regarding the Braves' current series with the Padres. They lost the first game on Friday night, 3-1, but they were rained out on Saturday. So now they have to play a night game tonight on Sunday for Sunday Night Baseball, and then they have to wake up on Monday and play a doubleheader, a day game at noon, and then a night game for game 2, and then they have to fly from San Diego to Wrigley Field. So you wonder if the Cubs could steal a game from the Braves if they're a little jet lagged from traveling across the country and having to play 3 games in 2 days.
That's a great point. Let's hope so. That's a lot. Worst case scenario, the bullpen, no doubt, is going to be taxed, right? I mean, you got to think. So, advantage Cubs.
Advantage Cubs. Speaking of advantages, the Cubs versus Brave tail of the tape. Let's take a look at hitting right now by average. The Cubs are 22nd with a 233 average. The Braves are 7th with a 254 average.
Wow.
So big difference there. That goes to the advantage Braves on that. Starting pitching ERA, the Cubs are 7th at a 3.32 ERA, while the Braves are 9th with a 3.44. So advantage Cubs. As far as reliever ERA, the Cubs are 19th with a 4.18 ERA from their relievers, while the Braves are 6th with 3.27. Advantage Braves. And then in defense, the Cubs we're looking at the DRS, defensive run saved stat. The Cubs are 21st with a -6 defensive runs saved, while the Braves are 7th with 18 runs saved. So advantage Braves on that as well. So that's why the Braves are looking as good as they are and the Cubs are not.
Right, but at least the good news is they get to play 3 games on the field. Might be some weather issues on Tuesday and Wednesday, so let's keep an eye on that. Game 1 probables, Javier Assad, Charlie Morton.
Yeah, along with Shota Imanaga, Javier Assad is part of that 1-2 punch, right? He's been one of the Cubs' top pitchers this season. He's in the top 5 for ERA in baseball. 3-0 with a 1.45 ERA, 30 strikeouts, and 37.1 innings. In the 7 starts Assad has made, he has not given up more than 2 runs in any of them. His last start was in Atlanta, like we talked about, 6 shutout innings, gave up 4 hits, 1 walk, and 7 Ks to prevent the Cubs from getting shut out by the Braves or swept by the Braves. Most of the Braves, though, don't have more than 3 or 4 at-bats against Javier, so they don't know him really well. As far as Charlie Morton is concerned, 3-1 with the 3.52 ERA in 8 starts. He has 44 strikeouts and 46 innings pitched. His only loss came at the hands of the Cubs when he went 3 innings and gave up 3 runs on 5 hits, 3 walks, 4 Ks. The Cubs ran up his pitch count early, and with all the Ks and walks, he was out. Cody Bellinger is 7 for 18 off Morton in his career. Horner and Tauchman are 3-9 and Say 2 for 4. Christopher Morel is 0 for 7, so keep that in mind. Charlie Morton throws a curveball and a 4-seamer with an occasional changeup. As far as game 2 is concerned, we got a battle of the lefties, Dustin. Justin Steele versus Max Fried. Justin is 0-1 with a 5.21 ERA, 18 strikeouts and 19 innings pitched. He probably doesn't want to see Pittsburgh for a while. He's faced Pittsburgh twice in the last week. The first time he gave up 6 runs, 3 homers, and 4 innings pitched. The next time he gave up 4 runs, 2 homers, and 5.2 innings pitched. He's also struggled against the Atlanta hitters. Acuna's 3 for 8, Albies 4 for 6, Michaels Harris 4 for 7, and Matt Olson 3 for 7. Marcelo Ozuna and Austin Riley are both 0 for 7 against Steele.
And Ozuna's been red hot all year.
Yep. Max Fried is 3 for 2 with the 2.22 ERA in 7 games started with 33 strikeouts and 44.2 innings. Fried struggled in his last start against the Padres on Friday night, going 4.1 innings, gave up 3 runs on 9 hits with 3 walks and 2 strikeouts. He looked a lot better in his previous start against the Mets, going 7 scoreless innings of no-hit ball. Now, the Cubs missed him last week. I don't know if we'd say they missed him, but they don't have a lot of experience against Fried. Cody Bellinger has the most, 8 for 23. Yan Gomes is 3 for 6, and Happ is 3 for 6. Fried throws a 4-seamer, curveball, sinker, and changeup. And then Dustin, game 3 gets tricky. And because, number 1, you got Kyle Hendricks, and I don't know if they really want to put Kyle Hendricks out against Atlanta. And then because of all these double headers, it looks like the probable is going to be Darius Vines. We're not 100% sure, but that's what people believe is going to be.
Well, you want Hendricks against the Braves, or you want him against the What, the Cardinals on the road?
Oh boy. Oh boy. I don't know. You know, with all the rainouts and the doubleheaders, it's what we got. Hendricks is 0-4 with a whopping 10.57 ERA in 7 games. He struck out 25 batters in 30 and 2/3 innings pitch. He also pitched against Pittsburgh twice last week. First time wasn't too bad. Went 5 innings and gave up 1 run on 2 hits, but he walked 4. The last time, not very good. He went 4.2 innings on Friday, gave up 7 runs on 11 hits. Kyle has given up 5 or more runs in 5 of his 7 starts, and he has traditionally just absolutely struggled in his career against his Braves. It's kind of like one of those things where you're taking a look at that and you're asking yourself, okay, you know, who hits Kyle Hendricks well? And the answer is, in this lineup, it's everybody. Like everybody's hitting over 300. Some guys are hitting 400. Some guys are hitting 500. So Acuna's 300. Ozzie Albies is hitting 545. Travis d'Arnaud is hitting 455. Adam Duvall's hitting 300. Michael Harris is hitting 500. The question is more like, who doesn't hit Kyle Hendricks well?
Right. Well, maybe Mother Nature will help out a little bit and push things back, because I think it's supposed to have some pretty crappy weather Tuesday, Wednesday.
I'm supposed to be at this game on Wednesday, so we'll see. Darius Vines is a 26-year-old righty with the Braves. He's a 7th-round draft pick, 2019. He was called up in late April. He made 2 starts for the Braves before being sent down. In his first against Houston, when Houston was bad, he only allowed 1 run in 4 2/3 inning. In his second start, he went 5 innings and gave up 4 runs against the Rangers. Nobody from the Cubs has seen Vines yet. He throws a fastball, changeup, and cutter.
And then Crawly, what do you think? What are we doing with the hot? It sounds like is there anybody hot for the Cubs as far as batting? I mean, they all seem to be broken. I mean, Cody Bellinger, maybe, right?
Cody Bellinger is correct. He is 8 for his last 27 with an RBI. He's hitting 296, 345, 444. Yep. Nick Madrigal 6 for 21, right? And he's got an RBI. He's slashing 286, 348, 286. And then it drops all the way down to 214 is the next batter as far as average. And special shout out to, you know, Ian Happ is just absolutely awful right now. He's got 1 hit in his last 17 at bats. Hey, it was a home run, right? But he is slashing .059, .158, .235. That's just not going to cut it.
No, not going to cut it. And you talked about how well these Braves hitters have been against some of these Cubs pitchers. So you got Matt Olson on the hot list for the Braves.
Yep, he's 7 for 15. He's slashing 467, 500, 733. And then Ozzie Albies is 6 for his last 16, 375. But even then, the next 2 guys, Marcell Ozuna and Zach Short, are hitting in the 300s. 2 guys that are struggling, though, Orlando Arcia, the shortstop, he is struggling. He's 2 for his last 15. And then Jared Kelenic, I think he was on the hot list when the Cubs faced him last time.
Yep.
He's 1 for his last 10, so he's kind of scuffling a little bit.
All right, prediction time. I will go first this time around. I'm going to say the Cubs are not going to get swept, and I'm going to say they're going to win 1 of the 3, but I'm going to predict they only end up playing 2 games.
Interesting. I'm going to go 1 for 3 as well. How can you bet against Javier Assad at this point in time?
Right.
You just can't.
Right. You just can't do it. All right, Crawly, that's a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Follow on the socials, Fly the W on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can email Crawly and I, flythew670@gmail.com, and you can watch us, that's right, by subscribing to the 670 The Score YouTube channel. Crawly, have a great week. I hope the game you go to obviously does not get weathered out, and you have a good time, and be safe traveling back to the friendly confines of Illinois, and go Cubs, right?
Absolutely, man. It's down, man. But again, 2 games behind Milwaukee. You're still right in this one. Just get right back on track. I know this is going to be this is part of a tough stretch, but no one ever said a baseball season's easy. Go Cubs! Hey guys, it's Crawly. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. If you want to see more of our videos, be sure to check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date with our latest episodes. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Go Cubs!